For the most part, if you're trying to lose weight and dieting, it shouldn't be too difficult. But there are some stages through a dieting phase where you may become a little bit more hungry than usual. And if you go very deep into a dieting phase, you may become very, very hungry. There are a couple of things you can put into place to mitigate that hunger, and we'll go through a few today. If you are somebody who's trying to get exotically lean, as in sub 10% for a man or sub 18% for a woman, you're going to be hungry. And trying to mitigate that is not going to do a whole lot. There comes a stage when you get very, very lean that your body decides, nope, we're starving, I'm going to make you feel hungry all of the time. And that's the trade-off of getting exotically lean. And it's not very healthy for the most part. If you are somebody who is trying to get absolutely shredded, bro, or maybe you're looking to get into your best shape for a holiday or something like that, what I'm going to go through here today will help, but at the end of the day, you are just going to feel hungry. That is the trade-off. You are starving yourself slowly. But for the most part, if you're trying to diet off maybe 5-10% of your body fat and you're not getting down to these levels of exotic leanness, there are a couple of things to put into place to make sure you're staying nice and full. The first one is volumizing your meals. What do I mean by that? I mean bumping up the volume, so the size of your meal, without adding a massive amount of calories. And what are the things that are going to do that? It will always go back to the healthy fruits, veg, whole grains and lean meats. They're your best options. So for instance, if you're having something like a porridge in the morning, adding a scoop of whey protein, some mixed berries and a banana is going to do a lot to increase the volume, but not so much in the calories. Another common one is having eggs in the morning. You could switch out your scrambled eggs for something like a vegetable omelette, mushrooms, tomatoes, spinach, whatever you want to put into it, and you could almost double the size of that meal without increasing the calories massively. Why is it important? Well, your stomach and intestines basically have little stretch receptors in there that tell your brain when you are full. So if you were eating very dense food that is quite high in calories, for instance, if you only ate peanut butter and ate your 2,000 calories or whatever you were on per day, you're probably going to feel very, very hungry throughout the day because it's just not a whole lot of volume. On that note, if you're somebody who eats nuts and you like nut butters, like peanut butter, almond butter, that kind of thing, I would advise you steering towards the actual nuts because the act of chewing food as opposed to just gulping it down is going to help you stay full. Lower calorie options. You'll see these pop up absolutely everywhere now. Low calorie bars, snacks, crisps, low calorie jelly is a good one. They can all be good options, and I have can in capital letters and bold writing because, for instance, if you really, really love chocolate, I'm a massive Dairy Milk fan. There is no alternative to that that's going to give me the same, yes, I love that feeling. That's important as well because what can often happen is you may go for the lower calorie option, but it might taste like shit. You mightn't enjoy it at all, and you mightn't get that feeling of, yes, that was a really good treat. So, give and take here. If you're going to go for lower calorie options, just make sure you actually enjoy them. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with these quote unquote soul foods as long as they fit within your caloric budget for the day. Number 2, quite controversial, artificial sweeteners. Now you may have seen some studies that have come out to say artificial sweeteners are going to have a negative effect on your metabolism, cancer causing, this, that, the other, insulin levels. Well, the overarching evidence supports that artificial sweeteners in moderation are safe for human consumption. The two main artificial sweeteners that we use, aspartame and sucralose, have been around for about 50, 60 years, and there's plenty of studies. There's thousands of studies on them, some to say that it's bad for your health, some to say that it's completely fine for your health. When you get all of the studies together and you cross-reference them and you make an overarching decision, that's basically called a meta-analysis. And overall, it's been shown that it's safe for human consumption. There may be things that come out in the future to say there is a negative repercussion on your health, but right now, completely fine in moderation. Diet drinks are absolutely fine in moderation. 2, 3 per day max, totally fine. I would try to limit it to that at the very max. Maybe 1 a day is perfectly okay. A bigger consideration there is the enamel on your teeth. Making sure you're not creating any damage to your teeth is something I would be concerned about. When I drink diet drinks, I would generally try to use a straw where possible, so it's not going onto my teeth as much. Flavor drops, these fellas up here, are deadly, especially for Greek yogurt and oats as well. Really, really tasty. They're a calorie-free sweetener that tastes like whatever the hell you want. White chocolate, peanut butter, they're really, really handy. I would advise you pick up some if you're into your plain Greek yogurt because they can make it really, really tasty. Number 3, calorie banking and hunger surfing. Calorie banking is when you save more calories or more food to the part of the day that you tend to be more hungry, or the week. For instance, if you know you're heading out to a wedding on Friday, Saturday and Sunday, you could restrict food Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday to allow for more spending on the weekend. But you can do the same on a day-to-day. If you're somebody who does not enjoy breakfast and you feel like you have more mental clarity when you don't eat breakfast, you don't have to eat breakfast. There's no necessity to do so. Mr. Kellogg's actually came up with that one, would you believe? So a little bit of bias there. And what you can do is figure out when you feel most hungry. Now, this comes with its own limitations. If you're somebody who's skipping breakfast to be able to eat more later in the day, but then when lunchtime comes around, you massively overindulge more than if you had a breakfast and a lunch, well, that's a big problem in itself. But if you're somebody who genuinely just doesn't really like eating breakfast, you're very busy in the morning, you have better mental clarity, you maybe like having a cup of coffee or two, that's perfectly okay, and you can bank the calories to later in the day. Hunger surfing. So this is something I advise everyone try at some stage. Food is literally at arm's length all of the time. I think a lot of our hunger pangs and sensations of hunger aren't really hunger, or at least some of the times. So I think if you feel like you could be hungry for some reason between meals, sit with it. Sit with it for 20 minutes, see how you feel after, see if the hunger dissipates. Hunger is cyclical, so it will spike, you'll feel super hungry. After about 10-15 minutes, it will drop off again. After that 20-minute mark, if you're still very, very hungry, by all means, grab yourself something to eat. Number 4, I briefly touched on this already, which is using caffeine to your advantage. Caffeine is an appetite suppressant, and it's bloody class. I love it. But you can use that to your advantage in the morning. If you're somebody that doesn't really like to eat breakfast, you start to get hungry around 10 or 11, but you don't want to eat until 12, you can have a cup of coffee. A black coffee would be great. And what that'll do is it'll help to suppress your appetite. On the note of caffeine, I have mentioned this before. If you are a big coffee drinker, cut it out after 2 p.m. because it has a massive impact on your sleep. Caffeine has a half-life of around 7 hours. So if you have a coffee at 3 o'clock, half of that caffeine is going to be in your system by 10 o'clock that night. If you have a double espresso at 3 p.m., you're going to have the equivalent of 1 espresso in your system at 10 p.m. at night. So you can see how this will have a massive impact on your sleep. And you can also see how that cycle of feeling very, very tired and groggy throughout the day, poor night's sleep, wake up, have a coffee, abuse coffee for the day, get a poor night's sleep, and rinse and repeat. We want to get out of that. So cut out caffeine at 2 o'clock each and every day. That's all for this video. Plenty more tips to come. If you have any questions or queries, please drop me a message.